it was a Zenith event, I think. I'm not sure. I won a Zenith clock, and I remember seeing him there. And I spoke to him, and I didn't think that he was Malaysian at the time.
Oh.
He had an accent, and I'm like, this guy.
Alright, so welcome back to the part 2 of My Watches podcast. So My Watches, Watches and People episode, you call it 8.5 or 9 with Marshall again, right?
Yeah.
But this time we're going to talk about in terms of his journey with the Matick Blog and also his collaborations and ventures with different brands and so on, right? If you have not seen, to know more about his watch collecting journey, watch the previous episode, right? All right, so let's dive straight into it, right? Yeah. So, how did the Matick Blog come about?
Okay, so it was 2015, third year of law school, right? And when you're in a town of like Oxford, there's literally nothing you could do, right? And then I spent most of my time in the library just Googling and then watching like talking watches. And I'm already running this chronometric thing, this IG page, which is now one of the Matick Blog, for like a few weeks already, and I realized I would love to have a space where I could hang out with my friends and talk about this all the time. So I have two of my buddies back, no, actually three of them. They're no longer with us. Sorry, that's not what I meant. They're no longer with the team. We're still great friends. Holy crap, I'm so sorry. We're still great friends, you know. Holy shit, but yeah, we just thought like, oh, okay, you know, this is a fun thing to get into. Let's start something regularly. So with the Matick Blog, when we started, it was literally like a series of like what you guys are doing right now. I was talking to people from all walks of life through Instagram, whatever. I was literally sending them like interview questions. Hey, so tell me a little bit about your journey, blah blah blah.
So all those are articles, right?
They're not really articles in that sense, but it's like an interview with who IG handle,
I see.
that kind of stuff. And it gained a lot of traction because it was interesting, you know, it's a fun place to hang out, a lot of interaction, and it got me really excited about who's the next guest.
But they were in written format lah.
Written format, yeah, because podcasts were not
Yep.
right?
Yep.
And we didn't have like the video equipment or whatever. And so we got some really interesting guests. Like at some point, I interviewed Dylan Harris, Christian Zeron.
Okay.
Yeah. He's also, I think he went to law school as well. So it's a very interesting story to see how he went from there to here today. So those are the kind of things I really enjoy talking to people about. When I see a watch, I want to know, so what's the story about that watch? Do you have one? If you don't, then it's all good. You know, you love it. Tell me why you love it. The nuances of collecting. So we started there. And then we really took off when I was in London the following year. I'm doing my bar. Seven Friday invited me to one of the watch fairs called Southern QP, and went there. I met Seven Friday founder, met the team. We all became great friends. You know, kept in touch, and that was where I also started meeting people like Dietrich. You know, so the Matick Blog is pretty much like a platform for me to just pen my thoughts. There's no intention of like, oh, I'm going to be the next holding key or what.
Yeah.
It's just for me to...
A passion project.
Yeah, a passion project.
Yeah.
There's no real direction. Like, I just want to have fun with it.
Yeah.
So when you first started, it started as a photography page and then evolved from there, or?
Yeah, to call it a photography page is a bit weird because I only had my S4. It was more like a sharing page, you know, like what people do on Instagram.
Yeah.
So nothing too serious, but I love sharing those because, you know, in the UK, you wear nice jackets, and like cuff, wow, you know, and then I wear suits a lot back then as well, and I do love seeing those details, you know. So it's just a way for me to express myself. So nothing more. And then it came the whole interview thing that we do. It's called Wrist Talk back then. Hashtag WRISTALK. Yeah, it was a big thing. We got the opportunity to meet like great people.
Who was your first ever guest?
Oh my gosh, I don't remember. It's been so long. We did like 50 over episodes.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's so long. Really, really long. I don't remember.
So at that point, it's just literally throwing out messages after messages and see who replies.
Yeah. It was, but people were seeing like, oh, you guys are quite exciting, like young group of guys doing this. It's not something you hear every day. Because back then there was like, in terms of watch communities, it's not very extensive.
Mm.
Even in London, we didn't have this Red Bar chapter. In case you guys don't know, it's
Yeah.
like a get together.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
They're famous in the US. So there wasn't much of a reference point in that sense.
Yeah.
And suddenly see this bunch of young guys coming up and just writing about things they love, and we approach it in a very like fun way. We don't want to. I'm not a champagne caviar guy. I enjoy those things, yes, but it's not me.
Yeah.
Look at me. I'm dressing in Uniqlo, right? Like
Yeah.
that's just who I am. You know?
Yeah.
So I want to take that perspective and put it in like this sort of approach to collecting. It doesn't have to be Rolex, Patek, whatever. It can be cheap Seiko. But why you cherish it? That's what I want to know.
Yeah.
Why certain pieces make you feel a certain way. That's the thing that I look for when I write about these things. Yeah. And there's a lot of articles also. Brands are sending me watches left, right, center, and I write about them, take photos and that kind of stuff. Yeah.
So when that happens, I think you mentioned in terms of you getting like 1,000 to 2,000 likes and stuff, that hits you, right? And say, oh, we couldn't do bigger. We can do more. We can do bigger and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Where was your back then? Where was your ambition at? What were
Okay.
you thinking?
So for me back then, I didn't realize law was not what I wanted to do. I always thought, okay, maybe I'll just do this on the side, like a watch journalism kind of thing, like Ben Clymer. Ben Clymer is one of the people that influenced the way I look at watches. I've always wanted to do that, like maybe on the side. Right?
Yeah.
I can take my time to talk to people about certain things. And maybe it'll be a big thing. I don't know. Maybe it can be a full-time gig. I don't know. It seemed very vague at the time.
Yeah.
There was no real like, oh, I must become a watch journalist and write about. Yeah, it's very romantic in that sense, but is it gonna pay the bills though?
Yeah. And you were still studying at the
I
time.
was still studying, yeah. So realistically speaking, it's just a way for me to sharpen my writing. So there's ambition-wise, no. There's a hint of like, yeah, this can be a big thing, but I don't know where it's gonna go. I'm just gonna keep doing it and keep doing it. And I expect the same from my teammates at the time.
Yeah.
So that's where we were heading when we first started. Today it's very different. Obviously, new set of guys, great guys, enthusiastic guys. But I always tell them like, you can't force passion, right? Let's just keep it like this. We'll just keep this space as like a sacred space for us to just have fun, host meetups, just continue cultivating that community, the sense of appreciation for all these things, beautiful little things.
Yeah.
It's just a way for you to just, it's an outlet. In a way, it's almost like an escape outlet for us. I don't set any expectations of anyone. I told them, if you find something interesting, let's write about it. And brands these days, they approach us because we do that as well.
I see.
It's like, yeah, it's fun. It's a lifestyle thing, and nothing more. I'm not gonna be like a blog to watch, holding key, monochrome. These are great sites, but I don't want to be that. I want to continue having fun, right? Having fun writing about it. There's that sense of naive enjoyment you get, right, when you write about watches, and I don't want to lose that. If it becomes a business, it's very difficult. So trust me on that.
Yeah. So you guys don't have like targets now, like every week I need to churn out like one article.
We used to do that, and I get burned out a lot because law school is not easy.
Yeah.
I'm already reading so many books. Last thing I want to do is read more spec sheets, right?
Yeah.
And then when it got to that point, I realized like, let's just keep it as fun as possible, and I don't want to impose anything serious on anyone. In fact, it's the antithesis of what we were against at the time. It's like, the whole point of Thematic was
Have fun.
take ourselves seriously, man.
Yeah.
And then why are we so serious about not taking ourselves seriously? It's like it's oxymoron.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So at that point, you just say your audience are primarily more on the Western side.
Mostly on the Western side.
Right.
A lot of from the UK, US. A lot of our friends from the US. Yeah.
So when you came back to Malaysia, then that's where you start, in a way, localizing it.
Yeah, in a sense, because when I came back, so when I was in London, I actually helped with the setting up of Red Bar London. I was one of the few early people getting like inviting people and coming. Now it's a massive chapter over there. I think there's a waiting. If I remember correctly, someone told me there was a waiting list to get into events.
Go to an event.
Yeah, what the heck? But for good reason, it's massive, right?
Yeah.
When I came back, I wanted to bring that back here, and I realized that there weren't a lot of get-togethers.
Yeah.
And I was kind of lost for a bit. Like, so is Matick gonna die here?
Yeah.
So I started reaching out to people, like brands, local brands. I took the effort of going to boutiques, speaking to these people. We're still in touch to this very day. We're still friends, and yeah, it's just maybe opening up that access to people.
Yeah.
You know, obviously now it's so much big. Like access is such a big thing
Yeah.
right now, right? You have so many different groups that you guys are, you know, and I love that because it really gives us the opportunity to interact like this. And I love that, and I wanted to bring this back then, back to
Yeah.
Malaysia, and then that's why we're having all these time well spent get-togethers. The whole point is just get people together, throw down, you know, we have this bunch of watches in the middle, talk about it, have fun, have a good time.
Yeah. But do you ever worry that it might get a bit saturated, or given like how popular things are getting?
Yeah.
So like for example, like I say in the UK, there's going to be like wait lists and stuff like that. And does it also make you feel like if it reaches that kind of point for you guys, then it's kind of like
it defeats the purpose, right?
Yeah.
I do think about that all the time, but also at the same time, I think the way we are regulating it, it's quite it's quite tight as well. We don't just let any Tom, Dick, Harry in. And of course, I'm not trying to discriminate against people, but it's more like if you want to be serious, there's a place to be, you know. And we don't host it too often.
Yeah,
I think it takes away the novelty of. Red Bar was like a once a month kind of thing. It's so fun for me back then because there was no outlet.
Yeah.
But now I heard from people like, another one. I'm bored, you know.
Yeah.
And then watch events and one after another, it gets a bit boring. So for me, it's about regulating the number of times that we host these events, and we try to bring in something special.
Yep.
Our first event we did was with Ming.
Yep.
So that was something special on the side, and then we had like collaborations with Brooklyn Beer, that kind of stuff. You know, we try to bring those from time to time.
Yep.
Yeah. So I think it's about keeping it fresh, keep putting something novel in it. You give people like a lot of get-togethers. Yeah, show up at the cafe. And then what? You know, I'm not trying to knock on anyone. You know? I love those things, but sometimes can get a bit out of hand.
Yeah.
So when I host events, I want people to have a good time, like have good food as well. Right. So a lot of people for the last event, they're like, "Oh, food's great." Even if I wasn't in watches, it's fine to be
It's
there.
great.
Yeah. He makes good food, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So that's the thing, you know. It's not always like a linear thing. It has to be like there has to be some complementary elements to the event that makes it interesting. And I try to invite different people from different. Like we had our architect from Hong Kong. I don't know if you met him, Lex.
Yeah.
You know, he tastemaker, you know, that kind of guy. Come to our event. We have like at some point we have celebrities, local celebrity. You know, the ultimate. You does come to our events and everything. It's hilarious, but I love that mix of people. Right, you keep it fresh that way. Yeah.
End of the day, it's also I think what you're trying to say that you're finding people that sort of have like a I would say vision or sort of like mindset review that sort of that's able to bring stories to the table and not just here's another piece of watch that
So I mentioned earlier how I define a collector. Collecting is a mindset, really. It's not about what you have. A lot of people think they have 10 APs, they're a collector. They ask you how you get those APs.
Great dealer.
Great dealer. Like, does it hurt you when you buy it? No, I can buy another 10 more. So
I mean, no offense to those people.
Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong.
It's just your different type of watch and different type of watch user.
There's nothing wrong with that. You're just built different. Nothing wrong with it. But I find a bit more enjoyment and more meaning in people who go through certain things in life. They aspire to do well in life, and then it's like part of the journey to pick up something like this, right? And I want to hear about those stories. I feel like it can be an inspiration for a lot of people. It's just thoughtful. You know, it's that it's a very methodical thing, mindset wise. You need to know what you're looking for. What you got to be disciplined, so you don't stray. You know, I seen a lot of that pattern in my own way of collecting back then. I stray. I don't know what the hell I'm doing. But now I'm starting to get serious, and I started to realize, like, well, you have to be. Of course, there's no hard and fast rule, right? But still, it's like you want to have that direction.
So sidetrack a little bit, but before we get back into the Matick and so on. I just have one more question, right? Because I'm really curious.
Yeah.
Do you think that more, and because of the recent hype in the last 2 years, 3 years, do you think a lot more people are, in a way, leaning towards that the person that you mentioned that has 10 AP and so on? There are more types of people like that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But I don't see it as a bad thing because I like to think 50% of those guys will be like me. They realize, oh God, I have 10 of these and I regret it. So I always say that. I always think that if you don't buy watches and if you buy watches and you don't regret it, you're not a real collector. If you buy watches, regret it, and then you're like, oh, I learned from my mistakes.
Yeah.
That's sort of a transitional point, right?
Yep.
And I think those people, they're just on their own journeys, you know.
Yep.
And if they become a collector, great. If they're not, be it, as long as you're enjoying it. So obviously the influx of content coming out from social media has given so much more exposure. Like, look at the Moon Swatch. Suddenly people who I don't know
Yeah.
about, like people who don't know
Just
about
WhatsApp
watches,
you, right?
like, hey, can you get me on? Like, dude,
Is
I
he
know the
gonna get
VP
me?
of Omega, he's not even gonna get me one. How do you expect me to get? But you see the interest level exploding, right?
Yeah. Does
So-
it hold value? Blah blah blah.
Yeah, oh, it's ruined the original
Ah.
Speedmaster. And, like, as a collector, I couldn't give two shits. You know, I for me, yeah, it's great. Great people are getting into it. There's more exposure. People are trying to understand you better now. But yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
everyone's on their own journey, man. So take your time.
Right.
So maybe we should segue into a bit of your
Yeah.
career journey. Obviously, you practiced law for a while, and then now you're pretty much doing
Yeah.
watches full time, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
how did that happen?
Oh god, I was in a firm, one of the oldest firms.
Back here.
It was here, yeah. I was just getting really tired of the, commuting to work, and then you don't feel inspired. I go in my office, there's no window,
Oh.
and I work long hours, like, and I come out like, oh god, it's night already.
Mm.
And then it's like this cycle, and when the pandemic hit, it got even worse, right? And then I realized that, what am I doing? You know, what am I gonna do? Can I continue doing this for the next few years? I dread waking up every morning, so
So you did it for 2 years.
I practiced for 2 years. Yeah, 2 years. Yeah, I did litigation, then went to corporate. It was dry as heck. I mean, people are great, but at the same time, I think corporate is just not what I was looking. Maybe that setting was not what I was looking for. It wasn't like high energy or whatever. You know? And
So what was the thought process? It's just like, you had a plan already, or you
No.
just like you dropped everything and
oh no! I've always been very careful with things like this, and that's why I was suffering, because I didn't know what to do. But I remember there was one point in time. It was a late night. I came down to the office and I called Pete. Like, Pete, he asked me, "How are you, man?" I'm like, "I'm dead. I'm gonna quit this job." He's like, "Okay, why are you telling me this?" I just needed to talk to someone, you know. Yeah, so I actually called up Emmanuel. I knew at the time that he wanted to do something, and he's already like stagnant with the brand for a while because he was looking for something fresh. He's been doing like the organic, which is what we hear, the organic time companion. He wants to do something different. I think he's also looking for an opportunity. I could feel that it's coming, you know. So I called him. I'm like, "Hey, if you want to do something serious, give me a call. Let's make it happen." You know, and then true enough, he called me and then offered me a position. And I was like, shit, this is real, right?
Yeah, it's getting real.
This is real, right? This is really real. And yeah, I attended the next week, which is on my birthday week that time.
Oh, nice.
And yeah, it was the greatest gift to myself.
so if you don't mind sharing, it's that gig able to cover your salary
Yeah, I was earning a bit more.
a bit more. Okay.
It wasn't,
Okay.
it wasn't
So
great.
it wasn't a.
Yeah, it wasn't like at a loss or anything.
Yeah.
So I've always wanted a bit more. I want more out of this. You know? So yeah, I jumped on it. Yeah, and I just remember feeling very grateful because I've always made it a point to network with people at all these events. So Emmanuel Dietrich was the man that I networked with at that event, and it made a difference in my life. So yeah, I jumped. Obviously, family wasn't too happy about it, but I didn't care at that point. I was just
Yeah.
burnt out to do anything else.
Yeah.
Was that your only option? Because you mentioned like you network people, like you have Omega, Bell and Ross and everything. Did you venture in? I mean, try out the other route as well.
So honestly, at that time, in hindsight, I didn't reach out to those people because that wasn't what I wanted to do. I kind of knew that I want to try something very different. I don't want to go into retail.
Yeah.
I know some people who do that. Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
It's quite fun in a way. I want to do something different, and I knew this is the man that's going to help me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was the best option available, and the only option I really dug deep and just went and researched and like, oh, what do I do? Do I register as a sole prop or do I need a company? That kind of stuff. We didn't really, right? So I went there. I don't want to be employed anymore in that sense. So their relationship was there was a bit more respect in that sense.
Sort of it's pseudo partner, you know.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Yeah, on paper it might seem like I'm an employee, but I'm not.
Like a contractor.
Ah, yeah, there you go. There you go. Yeah. So that's why I'm freelancing. You know,
Yeah,
I have more
yeah.
freedom to do these things. So yeah, that was the only option I had on the table, and I went full in because I already knew the brand. I knew the man I was working with. We were close. We were like family friends. So yeah, I just jumped, never looked back. Yeah.
Okay. So, how was that in terms of that experience?
It was great.
Yeah.
It was great. I got the opportunity to look into what makes a brand. Okay, so it's hard to put in words, but when I look at a watch now, I don't just look at brand heritage, all that stuff. I look at
Manufacturing and all
I
those
think
things.
about
Yeah.
I think about the difficulty.
process,
Yeah.
Yeah. And some people might ask me like, hey, do you feel like you appreciate watches more now? I said, no, it doesn't change because I've already appreciated it from the first day. But it made me feel a bit more. There's a bit more of like understanding as to how difficult it is to push out certain elements. Because we get customers who are like, oh, can we do this like this and that? Yeah, it may look simple to you, but there's a lot of difficulty behind the scenes, right? And that experience has really molded me into the kind of person I am today because it really helps me see both sides of the coin. So when I look at pieces being put out, I always think about what's this brand trying to tell me with this design. Because I had a very clear vision with what this concept was supposed to communicate, right? And it taught me to think about watches in that sense.
So tell us more a little about this in terms of, I think is SD1 your first project in Dietrich?
Yeah, it was the
Right.
first one. I need to clarify this because people think I designed those. I did not. I provided the concept. I gave Emmanuel the elements that I want to be implemented. I have obviously a sketch, the dial and all the inverted markers. Those are the things that I wanted to be on there.
But he brought it to life.
He was the one who did AutoCAD, and I did reviewing, but I wasn't like, I drew it and all.
Yeah.
I needed to put it out there. But the concept here is, it's somewhat reminiscent of my old life in law because I always felt like I'm drowning. and then we wanted to do like a skin diver. I proposed a skin diver archetype because I felt like it wasn't an archetype that's done by micro brands at the time. I mean, Baltic and all, they had their own, but it wasn't something that that's really common. And I felt like you want something vintage, but you bring it to a more modern context, give it a more contemporary flair, and give it a story. So the story it goes a bit like this. I remember many years ago when I went diving in Thailand, right, Phuket. I remember which island, Phi Island, yeah. So I remember being underwater, and I looked up at the surface of the ocean, and I see these gleams of light coming through, and I don't hear anything. It was a moment of bliss, really. I didn't feel like I was on Earth or something. Surreal
It's an
experience.
escape.
Like an
plan,
out of body
Yeah,
experience.
Correct. And that stuck with me for many years. And then when I resurfaced, I remembered the one thing that made a massive impression on me is when I got up to the water. You can see water, and then you see the air. And that was that moment. I don't know how to describe. I don't even know if there was a phenomenon for that, but that was the thing that I remembered the most. I could see water and the air at the same time. It makes me feel like there's a sense of perspective, like, oh, I'm back into reality, And then I wanted to turn that into something that's a bit more tangible. So with the SD1, we decided to use a lot of sapphire. Sapphire to represent the surface of the water. So we sapphire on the dial, the bezel, the crown. It sort of represents the reflection you see on the surface of the ocean. And then because the dial is made of sapphire, you can put markers underneath it, and then it would seem like under certain angles like it's actually floating.
Yeah.
It gives that sense of there's a sense of freedom, And if you look back at the marketing materials back then, one of the things I made very clear was it was a moment of momentary tranquility. That's what I call it. Equilibrium. The project is actually called Equilibrium. Concept equilibrium. Balance. We took a lot of inspiration from previous design works as well. I forgot what was the one that we drew inspiration. It was that work with 3 basketballs. I think you can look that up if you like. I forgot what's that called. 3 basketballs floating in midair. That was the kind of feeling we wanted to achieve. So when you look at a watch, no matter how busy your day is, you feel like, oh, okay, I have that 2 seconds of like, okay, my mind calms down a bit, yeah. That's the kind of emotion I want to evoke with the SD1. So, yeah, Emmanuel did an amazing job. He brought it to life.
Yeah.
And then, we also, because this is such a new design compared to the previous Dietrich watches, we made some effort to implement certain elements to remind people that this is still a Dietrich watch. For example, the bracelet.
Yeah.
Yes.
The bezel has a 6-point grid
Yeah.
point, right? 6 representing the corners of a hexagon. Yeah, and then there's the automatic wording on the 6 o'clock, which reminiscent of Emmanuel's French roots. So yeah,
Yeah, which is like, I mean, like I think we said this in our review of the SD2. Yeah, we absolutely missed the bracelet on the SD2.
Yeah.
Right, because that is, like you mentioned, the element of Dietrich's.
I can tell you why we didn't do the bracelet though. A lot of people were asking why. I can't tell you at the time, but it was a logistical issue. The MOQ became so high. We were like, oh god, this is gonna make the watch so much more expensive because obviously COVID was still forced, right, and it really affected production by so much. We offered the SD1 in this price, like $1,050 US. Our margins were not very high. I can tell you for that.
Yep.
And then to put a bit higher on this, right? This is 1150. It's already a stretch.
Yeah.
People are asking like, why?
Yeah,
why
why?
is it more expensive? No bracelet, you know? But the truth is, the materials are harder to procure. And
So, for the audience sake, like the materials increased from SD1. I mean, the cost of materials increased from SD1.
cost of materials, cost of production as well, and also China was having China was having like the I think power rationing, polar exercises at the time, and they can only work for certain hours in a day.
Yeah.
So it really put a lot of strain on our production.
Fair enough.
Yeah. So we were really pushing it. We were trying so hard to manage expectations. Yeah. I mean, I for one, if I was a collector, I would love to have the bracelet. It's just not doable. So I developed this sense of empathy for brands who are in similar positions.
Yeah.
So that's the kind of perspective it gave me. I try to look at you can't just look at it from a collector's POV.
It's easy to say.
You say what you want.
Yeah.
What you want here.
Yeah.
Why don't have? Why didn't
It's
say?
so expensive.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at our price sheet, oh my gosh, you realize how much of a steal you're getting.
This was a steal, and then
Yeah. People say it's so expensive. I'm like, do you know how much it is to make the bracelet?
yeah.
We didn't skip, like take like a cookie cutter model from existing model from a factory. We did it from the ground up.
Yeah.
Even the rubber strap is designed by us. If you notice, there's a hex motif on it. It's not the run of the mill one you get from the factories. You know, people just don't see those things.
So maybe just give the audience a little bit more insights into what it takes to create watches. Right, in terms of like what's the sort of the timeline, like conceptualization, finalization of designs, idea planning, manufacturing, and all those things.
So I think for the first step is always concept. Right? What sort of concept you want to express in your design. That itself will take some time because this concept comes. I mean, your vision and your ideas come. Like in terms of timeline, it's very different for everyone.
Yep.
I already had this in my mind somewhere in my subconscious. That's why I could just pull it out. But I think for anyone, sometimes it can take years to even come up with a concept.
So how did it take for SD1?
SD1 took 4 months.
4 months.
Wow, that's pretty quick. Right?
Very quick, yeah.
Including Dietrich putting it into CAD.
Yeah, very small. We were a small team. It's literally me and Emmanuel.
Yeah.
And we were just like talking every day, looking at designs. And
I guess it's more lean that way as well.
yeah, because if you have a small team, the good thing is it's very nimble.
It's direct,
Move. You want to change, no problem. You don't need clearance from whoever.
Yeah.
So in terms of timeline, I would say we took like around 2 months to finalize the vision, finalize the mood board and everything. You put it into play, we have to prototype another 2 months. And we're already rushing things. And luckily at the time, factory was very accommodating. They're like, you can let me send you some of these, you have a look, you know.
Yeah.
We were very lucky. So 4 months is quite extreme.
Yeah, it sounds.
Looking back right now, I'm like, oh
pretty
my
quick.
gosh, I didn't really sleep that much.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's easy. Some people, very easy to go get like existing bezels, whatever case, chuck it all together. Oh, you want a Mio? Yeah, sure, Mio.
Yeah.
But we put in a lot of effort to test it, test the integrity of the movement, how the date works, and also because we're designing everything from the ground up, including the dial. Like you see that one right there, there's a cutout. We had to go back and forth. Like, do we put the date? Do we not? If you want to put it, do we put it on the 6? Do we put it on the 4? I already knew like what collectors like. Nobody likes a off-center date. Unless you're Langer, you're not Langer, right? So
6 is good.
6 is good. Yeah, it's symmetrical, right? So those are the things that I find very important, and it took a bit of time. So 4 months was pushing it. Realistically speaking, it'll take longer. Expect 6 to 1, 6 months to a year, I would say. If you are really going to start from your own. Also, I have quite a legendary designer on my side. He could sketch things out real quick, right? I tell him this thing, like I want this thing written today, drawn up today. He's like, yeah, done.
Oh wow.
So it's that kind of caliber that
Yeah.
I'm working with. So obviously that plays a part.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Then what's next? After that, for SD1, you have 4 months in there, and then
Yeah, 4 months, we went into prototyping. Prototyping, and also it depends on your budget. We didn't have a lot of budget back then. So we had like a couple of pieces. And the difficult part for me was to reach out to people. Our biggest win for the SD1 was our feature on holding key, because you really pushed a lot of it, set everything in play, right? You have one of the biggest publications talk about your watch, and no less James Stacy, the guy, a 2-watch guy, right? To talk about it, and that sort of, it's not easy because I had to keep bugging him.
Yeah.
And when he replied, like, wow, I realized like, wow, this is,
It's real.
wow, it's real.
it's via IG or
It's right, IG.
Okay.
Yeah. And also, but the point I'm trying to make is PR marketing is an important step as well. That
Yeah.
took like 2-3 months.
Yeah.
You have to reach out to the right people.
Yeah.
And then some of these brands, they expect you to pay them. We did not pay a single cent to holding key. People think we paid them. I did not pay a single cent. We only paid for shipping. And they didn't ask for anything. That's why I'm like, wow, this is amazing, you know?
Yeah.
Other brands, they'll negotiate with other watch blogs, they negotiate with you. So it's like back and forth.
Yeah.
We have to pick who do you think, what sort of audience would appreciate this design more, right? So this is actually geared towards the European, US, you know. So we pick people from there. That itself, like I said, took 2 or 3 months. Yeah, but that 2 or 3 months, I actually matched it in the first 4 months. So
okay,
everything was already playing.
Right.
Like I said, I'm pushing it.
Yeah.
Realistically, it could take longer.
Yeah.
We wanted to make something, like we want to push it out as fast as possible, right? And they wanted to sit on it. So yeah, that's cool.
Great.
Okay, then the next thing is that, I mean, in terms of, I mean, after seeing the watches and stuff,
Yeah.
and many countless sleepless nights and everything,
Yeah.
it gives you way more satisfaction than in law. That's something that you can conclude, right?
For sure. I'm not saying law is terrible.
For you, yeah.
For you.
It just wasn't something that I felt like I could put all my time and energy into. Right? I wanted to build something that I care about. I don't want to build another man's company, and I don't even care.
Yeah.
So, yeah, this was something that I poured my heart and soul into it. Obviously, blood, sweat, tears. Sleepless nights, but when the watch came, the prototype came, I think I screamed. My house porch, right? Car porch, right? Oh God, look at this! You
Yeah.
know? And it was a prototype. Though. It wasn't like a full.
Yeah.
But that enjoyment,
The feeling lah.
the feeling of
Come to
joy.
life.
Yeah.
That elation was
Yeah.
from like, wow, I can't believe I just imagined this
Yeah.
months back, and now
Like
it's
you
on my
brought it to
wrist.
life.
Yeah, and it's like it doesn't feel like any watch I see on the market.
Yeah.
It doesn't look like any. I'm very
Yeah.
proud to say that.
It's true.
When you look at it, you don't remind it's Submariner look. Oh, it's this or that.
Yeah.
Nothing like that. So that feeling made me want to chase it more. So yeah, that was the biggest thing for me.
Okay. So, having a taste of it already, what's next for Marshall?
I'm now on the dealer side, right? So
But before that, you worked on the SD2 as well, right?
the SD2 was actually not my design. It was a derivative of the SD1. Emmanuel wanted to create something a bit more, because okay, so some people are breaking the bezels. Because Sapphire, it's not meant to be a 2-watch, honestly. It's a bit of oxymoron, like I said, 2-watch look, but it's a philosophical kind of thing, you know, like a conceptual thing. It's not something I recommend you wearing and hitting around. Yeah, this is like an art piece, ornate,
Yeah.
right? But people don't see it that way.
Yeah.
And then they just smash it out, and I realized it's a big problem. So I told Emmanuel, like, okay, we might want to do something a bit rugged, a bit tough. And then he drew inspiration from the men and women who were working at the docks. That's why there's the inscription at the bottom, Mission Maritime, which is maritime missions. People work at on ships or the yards, right? These are made for them.
Yep.
And obviously we removed all sapphire. We put an aluminium bezel, a sandwich style, to make it more legible, and remove the date. So it's a bit more, very 2-watch, more 2-watch actually. Ideally the Abyss Black version.
Yep.
Because it's just it's so tough.
Yeah.
You know, I love it like that. So that was made from that, you know, and it was an evolution.
Yeah. So I mean, it's an evolution, but also like you said, right? This is an actual 2-watch, and that's more like ornate. So in a way, it's also its own thing, even though it's called like
Correct.
1 and 2. But
Correct, yeah. I can tell you that people who bought this and that, they will tell you the same thing. I wear my SD2 a lot more, because it's made for everyday wear, but I wear the SD one at home or to special events.
Yeah,
because it's like it's an art piece. I would say. Yeah, so that was a very satisfying thing for me to do. Yeah, and obviously went on to different brands as well at some point. So you want to talk about Nodus as well?
Yeah, might as well. Let's
Yeah.
start with in terms of your collaborations with Nodus.
Yeah, Nodus was quite an interesting project. I was never really with them. They were just a bunch of guys that we met. They came to Malaysia at some point. The last get together prior to the one that we did the launch of the Matick.
But how do you met them before that?
It was through IG. It was through my other guys, Vincent, Casey.
Yeah.
They're much more closer, and then they introduced us.
Oh.
And Todd, because we're all like, I think Wes and Cullen founders, we're around the same age. They're around my age, I think.
Oh, really?
Yeah, very young. When they started, Nodus was very young. I remember them, they sent me a watch, and then we sort of had that relationship. We talked about it, we discussed, and I don't know how in the world did we come to like a collaboration thing, you know? Maybe they agreed and then they regretted, I don't know. But here we are, you know.
Well, can't be, right? They did the second one.
Yeah, the second one, so safe to say.
Yeah.
So this one was actually the very first one that we did. This was 2020, pre-pandemic. We literally launched this, delivered every single piece 1 week before the lockdown.
Wow.
Yeah. And because when we were at a point of time where the Matick Blog feels like we want to do something different now. You know? And we see all these. Okay, I'm not trying to take inspiration from like holding key, collaborate. Nothing to do with that. We want to do something in our own meaningful way, right? Like I want to do something that I truly like.
Not collab for the sake of collab.
No,
Yeah.
We don't do that stuff. We don't believe in any of those things. It's not really for money also. I just want to see like what number I have at effects number one or prototype of the Matick Blog. You know? I think that's really cool.
Yeah.
So start speaking with these guys. And Casey had a really interesting story. I think you knew.
I know about the story.
You know about the story.
I think he spoke about it.
Yeah, it was he had a Nodus contract, which he lost, and then there was this joint effort within the community to buy him. We bought him a Avalon, made a big story on the Matick Blog, and he was so happy. And then he brought that watch and he showed it to me. Case back is really cool. Like, don't lose your virginity, not your watch, right?
Yeah.
So I looked at the watch and I realized this is a massive watch, but it wears so well for some reason. But there's something about the case, the curvatures and everything. And I told him, do you think we could do something with this? You know, and that conversation, that's where the ball started rolling. And then every week we talked, and then we settled on this sort of configuration. Gilt dial, and then there's the option for ceramic or stainless steel bezel. And then a specially inscribed case back. And this was 30 pieces worldwide, sold out within a week. So for a small publication like us, it's really it's so cool,
amazing.
you know? I'm very proud of it.
Yeah, I was close to getting one.
I think it's the idea of like, hey, you're wearing that watch. It's like, and then it has
my signature of Tim.
Yeah.
It's so cool.
Yeah.
That was a very special moment because this was pre Dietrich, obviously. And then just it was that momentum, you know, that I wanted to chase. Even I brought it over with Dietrich, you know. So I think collaborations like this, like today we see so many collaborations with brands and watch blogs, right? I'm not trying to hit on them, but it's like
sometimes just
Shaded,
a
right?
recolor or just like a.
No, don't get me wrong. I love the Hoya Skipper collab with some amazing pieces, but it's like, oh great, we have another collaboration coming. Like, how many more? You know.
Yeah.
So it takes away a bit of that fun, that joy. So I felt like to have something that I could really call my own.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, this is my own thing. You know, you can't take it away from me.
So how much of say do you get into this?
Oh, okay. So during that meeting, I remember speaking to them. They're like, "We can do whatever you want."
Really?
I'm like, what? Really? Don't you have MOQ and all that stuff? But I think Nodus was already in a very unique position. They could do like very small batches.
Yeah.
So I think for me and Casey, because both of us decided on the design, we wanted to retain the spirit of the Avalon. Avalon is that, I don't know if you knew about it, Excalibur.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's that story, right?
Yeah.
We don't want to take away too much from that. So we looked at the current lineup and we said, you know what? Let's just do a special dial. I don't want meteorite, it's weird. I don't want this, don't want that. But have you seen a gilt material on a dial, a micro brand watch? I've never seen one. Maybe I have not. I have not been. I have not looked hard enough, lah. But I decided that let's just do this, and that was the extent of it. We didn't really like, we wanted to change it too much because we're aware of the constraints. Like, I don't want to burden this little team too much.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, Casey and I are really happy with it. That's all we needed to change because it gives it an entirely different look. If you look at this and you look at the other models, there's actually a base model with an identical bezel, ceramic bezel, but it looked completely different, very different.
Yeah.
And we just added like subtle touches like Matick at the 6 o'clock.
Yep.
And like signature at the back, unbirded.
Yep.
Yeah, so nothing too crazy.
And then, how does that came about? It's like immediately after this, it's like, let's do some more.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah. So that one was a follow-up. We wanted to do a pilot watch for some time, but when we wanted to do that, they actually haven't released the pilot sector at the time, right? So we thought like, okay, we'll just wait. We'll wait and wait and wait, and then
because there's a big gap between
big
these two
gap,
watches.
big gap. So when that came about, Casey took inspiration from the GLC Master. What was it again? Master Control.
Yeah, with the one that he has with the
sector
syringe, with the syringe hands.
There you go.
Yeah.
Blue accents.
Very nice watch.
I felt like that would be a nice combination to a pilot's watch. And then we just went off to the races. Like, let's do that. And then we asked them, like, okay, can we do this? Yeah. Okay, so we do it two-tone. Same thing, we don't want to touch too much of it. Because at the end of it, this is Nodus, this is not our own brand. Just change the dial up, add a bit of our flair, and call it a day. And we made 69 pieces for obvious reasons.
The magic number.
Yeah.
The next one is 420 pieces, right?
Oh, God.
There's only one from there, yeah.
So have you guys started designing the next one?
Not yet.
Not yet.
We're,
Soon.
yeah, I hope so. I don't know. Nodus hasn't talked about anything.
One question,
Yeah.
why not one with Dietrich?
Dietrich is because I've already so Emmanuel and I are no longer working together. I mean, don't get me wrong, we're still great friends. I just felt like I think his priorities are different right now. So it's not so much on designing watches. He's taking a short break. So I don't know what's happening on that front. And obviously, with all the struggles we have with MOQ, with the Dietrich SD1, SD2,
Okay.
it's very difficult
Yep.
to make small batches.
Yeah.
Nodus was so much more flexible because of the position they're in already. So we did talk about a Matick SD1 or SD2 at some point, but never really came to fruition. But I think there's really no need for that. I just want it to come organically. I don't want to force it on anyone.
All right.
Yeah.
You don't want to be like the other watch blocks that you mentioned,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Collaboration for the sake of collaboration.
Yeah, of course, these guys were different, right? They're in their own voices in their own industries. They have salaries to pay, all that stuff. I'm not in that position, and I don't want to make it like that.
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna keep it organic. I'm gonna keep it running like that. Just have fun. It's more fun like this. I don't want to be like, oh God, make this, and how am I gonna sell this? How am I gonna fork out the money for all this?
Yeah.
So if you can collaborate, you can in a way collaborate with any brand with a particular model, which brand would it be? Like, the sky is the limit right now.
God, this is difficult. Honestly, I'd love to do a Swatch.
A Swatch.
Yeah.
I was feeling you're gonna say that.
Right, because a Swatch is like everyone can enjoy it.
Yeah.
Anyone. You don't have to be a watch guy or watch girl. You like it, buy it. And it's the epitome of like fun. When I think fun, I think of a Swatch. I don't know if it will be a system fit. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the kind of thing I look at. I try not to take it too seriously. Like all these are great tool watches. But sometimes I would love to have a bit of fun in like having different variety.
Yeah.
And I know if I were to do a Swatch, a lot of people would get into it.
Yeah.
It's
It's
the
very
entry barriers
accessible,
for everyone. Yeah. I don't have to fork out 2 or 3K. I mean, we can do that, but not everyone has the luxury to do that.
Yeah.
So a Swatch under 1K.
Yeah.
It's great fun for everyone. I think that would be my ideal partner. So Swatch, call me. But yeah.
Well, I mean, you probably can like ask Martin.
Yeah, I was going to say that, Martin. You're already a country manager.
Yeah.
Make it happen. No, make an Omega one. But yeah.
Okay. I mean, I'll look forward to that. So you never know, right? Yeah, you never know.
Right now,
I mean, if like SWC from Singapore can collaborate with Cartier and like, it could happen.
yeah, I don't know. I mean, then again, SWC is such a big group, right? We
No, I mean,
yeah, sky's the limit.
yeah.
I'll just put it that way.
Same thing, right? I mean, like with your attitude, it's like if you don't ask, you never get. So
It's true. It's true.
Yeah. All right.
It's true. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so like back to the previous question, right? So you mentioned you are with Song right now.
Yeah.
Right.
Now we're back at song.
Yeah, let's talk about it. Yeah, so Song is a bit of a unique situation. When I signed with Dietrich, he called me up for drinks. And he's like, hey, I want you on. So I was like, oh shit.
Oh,
All right,
okay.
right when that happened.
Yeah, but he wasn't really ready at the time. He was like, hey, I just want to let you know that there's this gig coming out. I wanna have someone I can trust, come on board, because I knew Sean from a long time ago. It was the event at Watch of Switzerland. It was a Zenith event, I think. I'm not sure. I won a Zenith clock, and I remember seeing him there. And I spoke to him, and I didn't think that he was Malaysian at the time.
Oh.
He had an accent, and I'm like, this guy.
Okay.
We clicked, and then it was like, you're a Malaysian one, it's so exciting. And we kept in touch over the years. We're friends. So when he approached me, and I was like, damn. The next thing, it's probably the next thing I want to do. And then when Dietrich and I parted ways, I went on board immediately. Yeah, I'm sure it's a natural thing. The best part about this is Sean is someone I met through networking as well. So I always tell people younger than me who ask me, hey, how do you do this? Like, well, just talk to people.
Yeah.
Keep those people who you felt like there's a bit of a connection close to you.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying go have like a agenda or anything.
Yeah.
Just be genuine to people.
Yeah.
And be yourself, be authentic, right? So that's how I got here as well. So it's quite interesting. Now I'm here with Sean. Then again, I'm a freelancer. Sean's just one of my biggest contracts, right? But I do that full time pretty much.
So what is your role exactly?
I do most of the technical descriptions, the journalistic stuff, most of the watches that I write about, you'll see on the listing. A bit of photography, logistics as well. I deliver that kind of stuff. Whatever he needs me to do, I'll always be there to assist. But mostly I enjoy about the writing because that's bringing it back to my aspirations as a young law student with the Matick Blog. This was where I wanted to be, writing gives me a lot of joy, and to be able to experience the watches in the metal, that's the kind of thing I enjoy.
Okay.
So to have that opportunity with Sean was amazing. So dream job, honestly.
Oh wow! Financially, you're not worse off in law.
No,
Right?
I always make it a point.
Okay.
So it's natural. Okay.
Yeah, I'm not a guy who needs a lot of things, but I enjoy a bit of stability. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm saying all this, but look at my watches. I'm a walking predicament. But he has to give me a bit of incentive to continue doing it as well. Obviously, not always about the money. It's about the opportunity, the exposure you get.
Yeah.
And every day I'll go in the office. There's always something new to learn, which I love. And to be able to see things from a dealer's perspective was also quite interesting. It's very new to me. I've only been less than a year, so much more to learn. And you see that the way the business works on that end. And I felt like very fortunate to be able to do it from a manufacturing side. Now I'm on the dealer side, and I have a bit of that collector brain as well. Because when you're in manufacturing, the one thing Emmanuel always tell me is like you have to switch off your collector brain. You cannot think like a collector. You are insider now. That struck a chord. Oh shit.
Yeah.
Great. I had to put practicality first and all that stuff.
Yeah.
You cannot think about what a collector wants. So I struggle with that.
Yeah.
But with Sean's on, it's different. Because the brand's already made.
Yeah.
Collector.
I can only just oh my god, that's an insane Patek Nautilus 3700 from the 70s. I write about it.
Yeah.
That's the best part, right? I write about it. I don't have to think of something like, what story do I give it? Give this watch or that watch, right? So that's the joy, the source of my joy these days.
Does it change your perspective on great dealers as well? Because they normally do get a lot of flack.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
From the public. Yeah.
I like to think that there's a demand for it for sure. People who give us a lot of. I mean, I don't consider myself a dealer, but I'm insider now, and I see how it works. It's really a give and take kind of situation, isn't it? Because no one's forcing you to buy anything.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? And if you want to buy it, people do buy it.
Yeah, for sure.
And if we don't, but it's on us. We're not gonna be able to sell it. So I don't see it as like collectors, they like to say, oh, dealers ruin everything.
It's like, no, you, the one that was willing to pay for it, ruins everything
Yeah,
because
so-
you control the prices, right?
Yeah. So at the end of the day, I don't attach too much opinion to that because it just doesn't do anything for me, right? It doesn't add any value to my work.
Yeah.
I'm just an observer of the space.
Yeah.
And I don't blame anyone. It's like, give and take. It's a transaction, man.
It's just economics taking
Correct.
taking place.
Yeah. It doesn't have to be watches, it can be anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
Of course, people are like, oh, but then people like me, I genuinely I genuinely like watches, and you're making it impossible for me to get into it.
There's so many types of watches.
First of all,
yeah.
Number two, you don't need watches.
Yeah.
It's none of us need this.
Mm.
These are all superficial things. We could all live without this. No one's forcing you to buy anything, right? So it's really a choice that you have to make.
Mm-hmm.
I look at it as as a matter of fact way, right? There's no like, I have no emotional attachments to all this. Like, sentimental, yes, but I don't feel like there's a need to knock on dealers. Everyone's just trying to make a living, right? And I look at it that way, and it makes me feel a bit more less burdened in that sense. I don't take on all these opinions.
Yeah.
Like for me, I'm just here for the watches. At the end of the day, right? Say what you want to say. I'm just here for the watches, man. I'm a middle class guy. I don't know what the hell you're talking about. I'm just here like, hey man, I can show you all this, but selling or not, but it's up to you if you want to buy it.
Okay. Then where do you go from here? Are you just going with the flow and see what happens? Or do you have like a big project in mind that you still want? Is there any more itch that you want to scratch?
I know watches I want to buy. But no, but for me, the way my career is moving right now, as I always tell people, I'm just glad to be here. I'm just happy to be here. I realize I have so much more to learn, and that makes me really excited. And I want to be really good at what I do. So,
Which is?
I want to be, so, dealers like Eric Wynn, Eric Koo, knowledgeable people. I want to be those kind of people. I want to be that guy who hey, I can tell you a bit of insight. Find me a watch, I can tell you a reference. I'm nowhere there yet. So I'm taking a lot of joy, having a lot of joy researching these pieces, learning the nuances, And when I see vintage pieces and then you read about I spend a lot of money on reference books these days. I can't imagine buying reference books for law was so dreadful. And it keeps updating every year, it's so expensive. But buying watches is a joy because I keep reading and I feel like I'm taking something away from it every time.
For sure.
And to put it into my work. I feel like there's a clear path of where all this knowledge is going to go.
Yeah.
And I want to be really good at that.
Yeah.
So I tell people all the time, I just want to be good at, not dealing, but I want to be good at knowing, writing about watches in that sense. There's people's like, oh, it's journalism. Yeah, in a way it is. But be it as it may, it's something that I take a lot of pride in, a lot of joy in. If you go onto the website, you can see the listings. Those are all the listings that I put up there. I take a lot of pride in them. I put a lot of effort in it. I enjoy the process. I just love reading about it, learning about it, and this now is actually my work.
Yeah.
Not just like a pastime thing.
Living the dream.
Yeah. So I'm just grateful to be here, honestly. And at the end of the day, I'll go with the flow. I have no plans right now. I'm just, like I said, I just want to be really good at this and see where it takes me. So.
But then I would assume no regrets from dropping law.
Oh, definitely not. People keep asking me. But, it's not that I don't enjoy it. It just felt like my calling's a little bit different. I pursue the arts in that sense.
Yeah.
I like anything. For example, we were into mechanical keyboards, all that thing, all these things that require some form of tactile satisfaction.
You take out lah.
That's the kind of guy I am. I am a geek. Even I, right?
True.
So I'm. It's like we're that nerdy guy that knows a little bit more than you.
Yeah.
I want to be that guy. And
It's like it doesn't save anyone's lives, but it's just
but hey, by the way, you can go on with your life, but it's not important. But hey, I want to tell you about this Contact 2526 first series and ammo doubt. No one cares.
It'll be that guy spitting out reference numbers.
I find a lot of joy in that. So,
Okay.
I'm here for the watches.
All right.
At the end of the day.
Right.
So perhaps one last final question before we wrap this up.
Yeah, sure.
what advice would you give to anyone that wants to jump into the watch industry? Be it like the dealer, be it like manufacturing brands or whatever. Yeah.
I think you have to take the time to understand what it's like. It's one thing to put it on a pedestal and say you want to do it, but you don't know how it works. It's like going for internships. If you really genuinely want to get into it, go work for free for a few months if you can afford that. Work for free, or be like me, visit the boutique every week, establish a relationship with whoever, and then obviously not with an agenda, but it's like, I genuinely want to know more, because people in the industry, they're very kind in that sense. They see someone, a young guy, want to learn more, they will show you when they can, because at least that's my experience. And network as much as possible. Go to these fairs, right? Speak to the right people.
And you are living proof that there is a route to enjoy watches and still making ends meet.
For sure.
I'm sure you're doing more than that, but
Yeah, for sure. I mean, people would say like, "Oh, is this can I replicate this?" I'm like, "Yeah, you can, but it's not like traditional."
Yeah.
There are a lot of obviously a lot
There's
of
no playbook, right?
Yeah, it's not play. It's not. You don't play by the book. There's a lot of decisions I have to make. Very tough decisions to
It's
get
very
to this
personal
point.
as well.
Yeah, and obviously we don't get into it. But it's those things you have to really ask yourself: are you really into it to do all this or not? Right? And also just like I said, network. All the people I work with in this industry, I got to with networking. Some of them are still kept in touch until to this very day. And then they'll bring you places and be open-minded. Brands love people like that. Be open-minded. Don't be so hard and fast to criticize. I don't like people to do that. Criticize. If you haven't even worn a watch, why are you making one?
Exactly.
Right?
It's easy to look at the spec sheet and point out and stuff,
Correct.
right? But yeah.
One thing I learned also in Dietrich is it's not about the size. It's about the proportions.
Yeah.
Paper,
I think even the Avalon is a good example as well.
For example.
Yeah.
So what if it doesn't fit you? It doesn't mean it's a bad watch. Some other people are like, oh, it's a perfect watch. Americans love big watches like that. So it's made for that market, right? So don't be so quick to point fingers, criticize. Try to understand what the brand is trying to tell you, right? And then from a career standpoint, just be open-minded. Talk to people. Reach out. Social media is easy, right? I DM CEOs, founders, and they will just reply like, hey, hey man, I mean, if the worst case scenario is they don't reply, big deal.
You got nothing to lose.
So keep trying, and hone your craft. I'm not saying I'm very good yet, but I work on it every single day. Keep doing that.
So to summarize it, look for opportunity, ask, and obviously put in the effort. And
be genuine about it.
Genuine about
be
it.
authentic about it.
And don't half-ass it.
Don't half-ass it. Go all in if you have to. I'm living proof, so you need to do it. Gosh, good job.
Inspirational story.
God, okay.
All right.
Mom will be proud of you. Started from DKNY and now you're here.
No, it's true. It's true. My gosh, this is kind of hilarious. Embarrassing to admit. But
All right. So I think that's a perfect way to wrap it up. I hope you don't get bombarded of DMs and things like, hey man, I want to get into watch industry, but
no one cares.
All right then. And I think as usual, Marshall's IG handle, the Matick Blog, everything will be right there. And hopefully there will be further get together
sure.
And then please follow that both sites to stay up in terms of any future announcement. And once again, thank you for watching.
Thank you.